Deadline. We have in the studio a new friend, the BaltimoreBrew.com, Mark Reutter. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I guess I'll give you some audio.
Oh.
There we go. All is well with you?
All is great. Thank you.
What's on the cover of the Baltimore Brew today?
Well, our lead story is ask the question of whether the new trend in Baltimore, official Baltimore, is to muzzle the critics. And it goes through some of the recent cases in Baltimore, ranging from a restraining order against a protester for Hun Cafe to the case where the former owner of the Senator Theater, Tom Kefauver, was ousted, ejected from City Hall last week. And what we ask is
why did you put out?
Is the question of why does there seem to be this sort of stance of trying to silence critics in a number of areas.
And he's running for council president?
He says he is. We point out that Tom is probably not the person that a champion of the First Amendment would most like to see on some of these cases. He has his own colorful or personality, but that doesn't justify what happened last week, which I witnessed at the Board of Estimates, where during the meeting was suddenly recessed, and Kefauver, who was sitting quietly without a word in the front row, was ejected by the city solicitor, George Nilsson, without any real explanation, just that he was not permitted in City Hall.
That doesn't seem right.
Well, that's what Kefauver said. He said several times, "Are you kidding me? What have I done?" And asked that question. Later, Nilsson told reporters that Kefauver was banned from the meeting because a week before he had gone up before the city council and had made a number of accusations and basically piped up about this and that in the city. That had apparently upset City Council President Jack Young, and Jack Young presides over the Board of Estimates meeting, and therefore he was uncomfortable having this citizen in the seats nearby him. What was also perhaps significant is that the issue that was coming at that very point up in the agenda involved the superblock case in downtown Baltimore and the extension of the right of the developer to develop that block. That's been a very controversial issue with the Reed's Drugstore and other matters, and Kefauver has weighed into that. He was removed without incident from the Board of Estimates, escorted out of City Hall, and then the Board of Estimates resumed approving the report that extended the superblock case. The whole thing happened within a few minutes, as if nothing really had happened. Or that was sort of the official pretense of it all.
Great job reporting. What else have you been working on?
Well, the Baltimore Brew was founded 2 years ago by Fern Shen, who's a veteran reporter of the Evening Sun, the late lamented Evening Sun, and the Washington Post. It was founded to add a new voice to Baltimore news media. The slogan is stirring up news and views. And we've been looking at everything from, and a lot of it is breaking news stories. We are we consider ourselves, and we are, a newspaper on the web, run by professional journalists. I worked for the Baltimore Sun for many years. I wrote a book on Sparrows Point, and have covered the city in many aspects for, oh gosh, almost 40 years now, since I was a police reporter as a 19-year-old for the old Evening Sun. We've been reporting on downtown development issues. We broke the story on the flawed contract by the Baltimore Development Corporation which is going to cost taxpayers around $1.2 million. We reported on this so far secret deal with David Cordish to get a tax holiday for the power plant complex in the Inner Harbor. That was interesting in that the Baltimore Development Corporation, the very group Kefauver has been complaining loudly about, was meeting at its monthly public meeting 2 weeks ago and quickly went into a closed private meeting and therefore barred the press, which amounted to two reporters, and decided on what its recommendation to the mayor would be in private. That has still not been disclosed. It's gone to the mayor, and that's something that has not yet been told to the public. And this is sort of the pattern that we've been writing about. Superblock has been another issue. Another has been housing and the vacancy problem in the city.
What's your count on the vacants? I was told that my 47,000 was a bit high.
I just read in the Maryland Daily Record from their excellent reporter Melanie Simmons that the official Census Bureau count, this is what she wrote, and she tends to be very, very accurate, was 47,000. The official city total is roughly 15,000. I think if you
Vacants.
Vacants. Now, if you go around the city, from East Baltimore to North Baltimore to West Baltimore, you see a heck of a lot of vacants.
How does that make you feel? I mean, you've covered Baltimore. You've been here. You've been right here on the ground. What's your sentiment?
Well, it saddens me greatly, and it brings back, like, really kind of this washes of history. When I was a green reporter back in the mid-1970s, I was in my early 20s, I wrote a series for the then Sunday Sun, 3 parts, many thousands of words, and it was about the vacant housing problem in Baltimore. And I interviewed then Housing Commissioner Bob Embry and then Deputy Housing Commissioner Jay Brody. And over the next year and a half, I continued to do stories on the Sunday Sun about vacancies. We broke a critical story that some of you might remember on Jeffrey Levitt, who was a landlord who we found out got one after another break on his properties at Park Heights. And what we found was that the city's code system was broken. It wasn't very effective. And the response of the city was defensive, to say the least. In the case of Jeffrey Levitt, they slapped him on the hand after the Sun broke the story. And
help me out. That's a savings and loans guy.
That was his earlier reincarnation, Donnie. Jeffrey Levitt was a landlord who had properties in Park Heights that didn't have front steps, didn't have rear porches, had rats and roaches where kids were living in them. He sneaked through the housing records. We actually talked to a housing inspector named Louis Fritsch, who recently wrote for the Baltimore Brew, about how he tried to stop Levitt and was told, oh no, you got to go slow, you got to go slow. Levitt then went on to greater things, as you mentioned. He took over the old Court Savings and Loan, looted it.
Liberty Road and Old Court, I remember the line. People wanted their money. Where's my money?
Right. So Levitt was, one of those bad apples who the city, for example, had many chances to deal with effectively, and he slipped and slid until he went on to greater things and caused greater mischief.
BaltimoreBrew.com.